Good afternoon. My name's DeSanctis. We're taping a training session for our air brake switch trailer today here in Massachusetts. The Siemens acquired Bridges, the factory down in Heber Springs, Arkansas, back in 2008. Prior to that, the factory had opened in 1981 and was manufacturing air brake switches. At 2008, they were acquired by Siemens, and Siemens expanded the product line accordingly. The primary product is our disconnect switch. The disconnect switches come in a variety of styles. We've got our standard disconnect here, bypass, a cutout design, substation. This is a line tap disconnect, inline disconnects, and another bypass disconnect. All of our switches are made with very robust blade, which is a tubular design. As you can see, there is little or no flex in the blade. Competitors use two pieces of copper with little spacers in between, and there's a lot of flex when you get that. With these switches, the lineman, if he's not lined up straight, he can slam the blade home and it doesn't have any worry about it not seating cleanly. With the ones that flex, you have to line up very straight at almost a perpendicular or 90-degree angle and slam it home cleanly. And sometimes that's not always easy to do. Another thing that sets our switches apart is the silver contacts that are riveted into the primary jaws. Okay, there's two purposes for that. The two reasons for that are: one, conductivity flow through silver contacts is more efficient. Second, it makes for a tighter contact point for the conductivity to flow. Conductivity will flow more evenly and run cooler when there are two high pressure points under contact for the electricity to flow through. The other purpose for having two contact points under tension is you get a wiping or cleaning effect every time you operate the switch. Any oxidation or corrosion that builds up on the blade is then wiped clean, as you can see by the marks in the side of the blade. These switches can be configured with any type of hardware, pole line hardware. We can attach a lug here if the customer wants us to specify a specific type of parking stand, for example, on this one. We had supplied, for example, at Orange and Rockland, a 3-inch. They asked us to change it to a 5-inch. Not a problem. We can do different tap angles if you wanted these straight, or if you wanted one angled this way, one angled that way. Really doesn't matter. Like you can see up here, the orientation is different. We could swap that out. Every one of our switches is basically made to order. Each one is specified by the customer, and we can include any one of a number of features. For example, load buster hooks here, for example. Another customer might not require that, but we can add and change each one. All of our switches can also be adapted to work with a load buster tool. So this is our safety gap interrupter. It is twist lock removable. So any one of these switches can be adapted with a load bust or load break option. So this is our inline disconnect. This is a very popular item that was originally designed by a couple of linemen down in Philadelphia Electric. They were retrofitting our SE switch with a metal or an aluminum bar that was at 90 degrees to the primary blade. The complaint was that without that bar, when you would open the switch up, you're pulling down on the line. The problem came when they went to close it back in and they pushed the blade up. Sometimes the switch would roll either way and the line would sway back and forth and the blade wouldn't slam home cleanly. So a lineman came up with the idea of, hey, if we're pulling down to open, maybe we could devise something like this, what's called a closer arm, to pull down on to slam the blade back in cleanly. And this was very, very popular. We've started selling it back in the mid-'80s to Philadelphia Electric. Now we've got companies all over the country using this. A lot of companies had moved away from using inline disconnects from a performance standpoint. And then there was also a series of failures, I believe, back in the 70s, where the insulator had a brittle rod fracture and it would drop the line. And as a result, this kind of fell into disfavor with a lot of utilities. But there's a lot of benefits to having an inline disconnect. With this particular switch, I can get an air brake, say 20, 30 feet away from the cross arm. I don't have to have, for example, like a line tap, this would be right next to your cross arm. Okay, there's different ways you can do it, but this gives the customer a lot of versatility in where they can hang them. Pause.